What's up, y'all? It's Dr. Paul with Liberty Hill Comics. The channel is where I share my passion and over 40 years of experience comic book collecting, investing, and conservation with you. This is episode 5 for this copy of America's Best Comics number 12. And today we're going to try to remove this glue on the first wrap right here. Thank you for joining me today. I appreciate all of the viewers, but especially those that take the time to like, subscribe, and comment on the video. If you want to try any of these processes out and need to purchase supplies, please use the Amazon affiliate links in the video description. You'll get the best materials and tools that I know of for the job, and you'll help the channel out. In episode 3, I separated the cover and first wrap and began the wet, clean, and chemical stabilization process from my 9-step comic book conservation process. That's when we discovered this glue on the first wrap. Our updated process for this book is: Step 1, preparation. Assess the work to be done on the comic and document the current state. We completed this in episode 1. Step 2, dry cleaning. We did some very light dry cleaning in episode 2 before disassembling the book. Step 3, wet cleaning and chemical stabilization. We disassembled the comic and we did a calcium hydroxide bath in episodes 3 and 4. And episode 3 during the disassembly was when we discovered the glue. So, part of wet cleaning became glue removal, which we're working on today in episode 5. In future episodes, we'll cover physical stabilization, in which we'll use archival techniques to mend any rips we find, and reassembly and pressing. We'll fix that spine roll, and then of course we'll wrap everything up with documentation, with after pictures, and we'll be done with this book. A little background is perhaps in order. I think this glue is regular school glue, which is the most common household glue in America, especially through the 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s before specialty glues became more commonplace in the market. This glue, called white glue, school glue, carpenter's glue, or Elmer's glue in the US, is polyvinyl acetate, a polymer consisting of the cross-linked vinyl acetate monomer. Although it is usually available with the monomer in an aqueous emulsion, it has little solubility in water after polymerization, which is presumably why our basic aqueous bath did little to dissolve this glue. I've looked into the solvents that are best suited to dissolve polymerized polyvinyl acetate. Most data sheets indicate solubility in several organic solvents, including acetone, benzene, chloroform, and methyl and ethyl alcohols. But the solvent choice that sounded most promising to me was this recommendation from Museum Services Corporation, a specialty vendor providing materials to museum curators and conservators. They state on their website, a particularly good PVA solvent is 50-50 acetone ethyl alcohol containing 6% water. One thing you should consider when thinking about which solvents to use are the health risks. When looking at two solvents with similar positions on the T's chart, sometimes there's a dramatic difference in health risks that can help guide your choice. Acetone and ethyl alcohol are both solvents that are much safer than alternatives we could have used for this project. So today we're going to test the solution for removing this glue. Remember, our primary goal is to remove the glue. We have a secondary goal of recovery of these thin paper strips if possible to reunite them with the cover. But we'll be okay mending the cover with Japanese paper without this paper if needs be. I've placed my page on top of some lightweight interleaving and placed the interleaving on top of a piece of granite. Our interleaving is non-woven polyester, and one thing you want to check when using organic solvents is just to make sure your plasticware or substrata are not soluble in the solvent. I checked, and polymerized polyester should have zero solubility in either acetone or ethanol. The same rules apply here as with aqueous baths. I want to avoid potential tide lines, so I want to wet the entire page. But I don't need to flood the page in a large volume of solvent, and I would like to avoid putting a lot of noxious fumes into my workshop here. So I have a window open on each end of the studio, and I've only mixed up 50 mils of solvent. I've chosen solvents that are less noxious fumes relative to others I could have chosen, as I mentioned before. If you don't have access to good ventilation or have to use one of the solvents with greater health risks, I recommend a respirator with an activated charcoal canister, rated for organic solvents. Those of you that have watched previous videos in which we've used some organic solvents know that when you wet paper with these solvents, if they are non-polar, they won't make the paper super weak like water does. This is a mixture with some polar activity, but just the sheet of interleaving under should be plenty of support. I'm going to wet the page and then I'm going to use my stainless steel spatula to try to remove the glue. As you can see, the acetone, ethanol, and water are completely miscible, so we have just one clear phase. I'm going to go ahead and just put a little bit on a little test spot and see if we have any running of ink or tide lines forming. You'll note that it's going to volatilize pretty quickly, so it should be revealed pretty quickly if our ink is going to run really badly or if we're going to get some bad tide lines. And it looks like the page is tolerating that pretty well. I'd go so far as to say it's already to the point where you can't really tell that it was there. Maybe there's just still a little bit more solvent to remove. So with that, I'm going to be confident in going ahead and wetting this area. And again, I'm going to just go ahead and wet all of our paper. So I just don't want to encourage tide lines to form anywhere. We notice this is going to solubilize, or rather volatilize, quite quickly. So I need to get to work if I'm going to try to get this glue up. That's quite promising. There's a piece of that paper already. There's a piece beneath it. Next piece up. I'm going to try to keep these in order so that potentially I can add them back to the cover. We'll see about that. But at least I'll preserve them in order so that it's a possibility. I think I want to add just a little bit more of this solvent here. You see I didn't quite wet all of the paper. So I'm going to go ahead and mix some up real quick. It is volatilizing, so by the time I get back, it's probably, the paper's going to look just a little bit different, but I'll be right back. All right, I've mixed up just a little bit more. I'll wet this over here. Again, just because I want to avoid a tide line. And then I'm going to get just a little bit more into this area. All right, I mean, this seems to be going extremely well so far. Looks like that glue came right apart. we've been able to remove this paper. So remember, removing the glue was our #1 goal without wrecking this wrap. Preserving this paper to potentially use on the cover, to add it back to the cover, was our secondary goal. And that looks extremely promising right now as well. I have the paper not quite perfectly flat here. What I want to do is just see, I think what I'm going to do is just see if I can, there was some dried glue here, and I'm just wondering if I can remove it, if I can feel the dried glue coming up, or if it's been completely solubilized. I think it's been completely solubilized. I don't feel anything here. A couple of paper fibers, I think, is all. Okay, so I think we're effectively done with this. What we want to do now is get this solvent out of the paper as quickly as possible. So I'm just going to remove these fragments, again, keep them in order, and then I'm going to start immediately with paper towel treatment here. I think I will have to do a little bit to flatten this out. There we go. See how I was telling you before, the paper is just, these organic solvents just don't weaken it the same way that water does if they're mostly non-polar. Okay, so like I said, I'm gonna get this in paper towels immediately, get this solvent out of here as quickly as I can now, try to minimize any dulling of the inks. So I think I'm gonna just go ahead and turn the camera off here. And I hope you enjoyed this Golden Age comic book conservation video, episode 5 for America's Best Comics #12. Most of the materials I used again today are available from Amazon in the affiliate links below if you need any of them for your own conservation efforts. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know below and tune in for the next episode very soon in the process. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Until next time, take care of one another.